attended Penn State from 70 to 74, and there was a program that recruited African American students, minority students from Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, some of the smaller towns, Chester, PA, Reading, and before that they had a program in 68 that they recruited some students from Harrisburg, Pittsburgh, and they had about 600 students. In our class they brought in about 2,000 students. And a lot of people confuse Penn State with University of Pennsylvania. Experience coming from the city, Chester, PA, to a rural area, which was more rural then than it is now in Happy Valley. But I was excited to be in the Blue Band for 4 years, and I had played in high school, middle school, and elementary school since 3rd grade. So that was probably one of the most satisfying experiences in terms of extracurricular activities. Also was on the campus security patrol for 4 years, from 70 to 74. So I had some pretty good experiences. And I served on the USG Supreme Court, which chartered the Black Caucus under Benson Lichtig, who is still in town here. He runs a couple businesses here in town. So I met my wife here too. So
that's always a plus.
It's 71. So that was interesting in terms of the cross-cultural relations and experiences, and my first venture into multicultural education, and which led me to do my student teaching in Panama in the Canal Zone, which was another good experience. And I studied abroad in England my junior year, so I was kind of excited about those particular experiences. We left in 74 and taught in Philadelphia, in North Philadelphia, South Philadelphia, 5th and 6th grade. And then in 75, I got a scholarship to go to the University of Northern Iowa in Cedar Falls to get my master's in education administration. And I graduated in 76 and came back to Philadelphia because my wife's parent was in Philadelphia and she wanted to come back. I originally wanted to go west to California, but I didn't make it recruited to Penn State in 1986. And one of my high school friends, Laverne Guyant, was president of one of the Black Studies program, and I met Kathy Lyons and Andrew Smallwood, several other grad students. And in '86, the undergraduates started the first Black yearbook called Symbols of Our Best, and that when I came to the College of Education for my doctorate, and that was '87. And then when I finished my doctorate, I continued as an academic advisor at Penn State. And I was featured in the 1991 The V on page 139. I retired in 2007 and continued to stay in the community. I just been playing music and trying to keep life going. In the Graduate Student Association, but we didn't think that the needs of African American students and diversity were being met because the programming didn't reflect. We did start some human relations programs, and we did start some. I started a program with some of my colleagues for the College of Education Graduate Student Association, and then we wanted to make sure that the Black students were recognized as well as other minority students. So we started the Black Graduate Student Association, and a lot of the students that were coming to Penn State were able to network and start some of the programs that were for Black graduate students, and the summer program, the summer symposium, being more involved in the overall university. Have things like the Kwanzaa program. We already interface with Former Black Affairs, which was started in 1970, and most of the people got involved during the 70s, and they're still around. I was a member in 1971, and I think Hank McCullough might have been president. He's a minority director in College of Science. Kathy Lyons was pretty involved with the administration as a graduate coordinator and some of the past presidents, some of the guys that were instrumental, Elizabeth Walker, I believe, Sherwood, Smith, Andrew Smallwood. We would get together and talk. Interaction for African American students in terms of having activities like a social or a Kwanzaa, or participating with the former Black Affairs in terms of the Martin Luther King activities, and some of the academic programs that they have for summer programs, bringing in more African American students and other students, and just a fellowship opportunity, just a place to wind down socially, and meeting in Kern Graduate Center, and having seminars on financial aid, how to get financial aid, and how to do post-grad work, or how to network with people in your field. I remember Kathy had an excursion to Washington, D.C. for people to find out who their national association was. It was just a fellowship opportunity, people to network with each other. I'd like to see a connection with some of the alumni, track some of the alumni. We used to have a newsletter called Where Are They Now? Okay. And it would track down alumni and where they are now, and could you reach back and bring some people back to campus, and some of the past presidents of BGSA, as well as the Black Caucus, and we started an organization that is still going on. It's like sort of the Black alumni, and we found that a lot of people didn't know each other, didn't talk to each other, didn't know each other, and so it was a way to get people to meet their alums and fellow graduates and keep in contact. And we had a lot of support by Alumni Association. They really supported a lot of our. So the history that was shared, is still ongoing, and I'd like to see folks reconnect to that history of people who came to Penn State and what they went through. There were 9 African Americans, including the first African American female, Mildred Button Settle, where the Button Waller Scholars was named after her, part with Waller, who was supposedly the first African American student, I think in 1989, 1905. And that kind of history has been transferred to Dow Davies, was responsible for getting the African American Chronicles, which has videos and pictures of some of the pioneers at Penn State. And that kind of history is very important to know what people went through, and that we're still going through some of the same things that they went through back in the 1900s. We can't see what's going on in our own society, then no wonder everybody's confused about why do we need separate groups versus integrated groups, because I think those issues are still prevalent, and I think that taken from academia to the outside world, those kinds of inequalities still exist. And I think Martin Luther King once said that people are afraid of each other because they don't know each other and they don't talk to each other. And I tend to agree, even today, that people don't know each other, they don't talk to each other, they don't have a history of each other. And until that happens, I don't think we could comfortably move forward, because people are afraid to trust each other, simply because they don't know each other. You should want to try to meet some of those folks that were pioneers and interview them like yourself, and find out what was the same or different, and how have things changed or not. Because the people who were here before already experienced all this, so they could pass it back to the people who are coming in. And the people coming in are going to be alums, and they could pass it back to the people who are coming in as new students. But we just don't take the time to recognize people for their contributions, because anybody that came through has an experience. Everybody has a story to tell. It's like, hey, are you still bitter about certain things, or is everything okay now? Do you get enough financial aid or resources, or do you know about resources? People need to understand how to work with and through the university, because you are, or we are, Penn State.